All right. Hello, children of the night, and welcome to WatchMojo's live rank. In the spirit of Friday the 13th, we are going to be ranking the top 10 scariest horror movie villains of all time. But before we dive in, allow me to introduce myself. I am Mackenzie. I am the writing coordinator here at WatchMojo, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Andrew and Tim. If you guys would like to say hello.
Hi, Andrew Tejada. I'm a writer and a voiceover dude at WatchMojo, and I stole all the knives from my kitchen to make this.
We can see who you're going to be voting for today.
Yeah.
I didn't have the right
have the hat too, and this,
the fedora. Yeah, I didn't
you're like emo Freddy.
You already had the fedora.
Emo Freddy. That's what I'm going with.
Hi, I'm Tim McCausland. I'm a writer with WatchMojo, and I float down here too. That's a Pennywise reference.
That's a Pennywise reference. All right. Welcome, guys. Hello to you, and hello to all of our friends and fans in the chat. Just a reminder that while this stream is open for all to view, only WatchMojo channel members get to participate in our live chat. So if you'd like to jump in and receive a whole bunch of other perks and exclusive content, don't forget to click join under the channel banner on the WatchMojo channel page. So I'm super excited for this topic. I'm a horror nut. Tim is a super horror nut. Andrew is dressed like Freddy Kreuger, so we're all here and ready to go. Before we get too deep into the rank, I will just give a little rundown of what we are looking at on our screen here. So, of course, we have movie and character info here. We have the original rank from the video that we published in 2017 in this column here. And, of course, each of our respective fan ranks in these columns. We have gone to the trouble of creating a little fan rank tab, a short list. So basically, point system, any movie that comes up two or more times across any of these fan ranks gets shortlisted for the fan rank top 10 that we are going to be doing today. We found out today, just right now through a poll, that 61% of our friends and fans in the chat think Friday the 13th is a lucky day. I like that energy, and I think we'll know for sure by the end of this stream. Cool. So let's get into it. The criteria for the original rank was pretty true to title. We were looking quite rank yourselves in terms of level horror movie nuts, says Rebecca. I think it's Tim, me, and Andrew.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's about right. Yep.
Case closed.
Tim.
Yeah. So the original criteria was pretty much focused on just, who is the scariest, who is the most iconic, who comes up the most and maybe is the most present in these kinds of conversations. I mean, there was a lot of adjectives in this criteria, but what's interesting to me, and I think that shows in all of our ranks, is how subjective a topic this is. Like when we rank things at work, normally there's like at least some overlap or some kind of consensus, but I feel like we're a bit all over the place today. So I'm just going to ask Tim right off the bat, how did you approach this topic?
Well, when you rank spookums, you just whatever ones make you the most spooky. Like I've had nightmares about some of these characters in my youth and now in my not youth, and I didn't try to be too restrictive with the criteria in my head. I just thought, hey, if they're scary and if they're bad, then they go on there. Pure and simple.
Right on. I like that. What about you, Andrew?
I had a whole system set up that I will explain exclusively to Snail Gale. Thank you for joining. So I have the fear system. You can't read my handwriting, and neither can I. So I'll just explain it really quick. F stands for fast. How fast am I dead when I face this guy? E stands for evasion. How is it likely can I get away from the person? Abilities. What can they do to me? And then lastly, resources I can use against them. So what can I use to fight them? Or is it a hopeless cause? That's my system, and that's how I rank them.
Wow,
I
like that.
For? You got the
yeah.
Your butter knives, your Wolverine butter knives.
They're sharp. They're sharper than they look.
That's how you spent your morning. You put on your fedora, then you were sharpening the butter knife so you could fight Freddy later.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a field day with you. He's gonna have a whole stand-up routine for Andy before he kills him.
Shout out to Isabel Brown. Thank you for becoming a member and for your enduring support. I took a more like existential approach to this, which I'm now thinking was maybe a bit of an overthought. Thinking about like not just who I could win in a fight, but what these characters kind of play on in terms of like larger fears or deeper fears. Like I think I'm more afraid of the monsters that I feel like can know you, like that can anticipate you and get into your mind and see who you are and play off of that as they destroy you. But like, for example, something like Samara, I don't have that feeling about, but when I think of her crawling out of the TV, it makes my stomach flip. So there's like a balance of that as well. I feel like there's like the broader ideas about like fear and like what these characters are like saying or like speaking to, but then there's also just like how they are shown in the movie and what kind of vision to like jet. So going into, I'm gonna like just ask the people in the chat right off the bat, is there any character that you don't see represented on The Matrix right now that you think we absolutely have to talk about? I'll give a couple minutes for that to permeate. If you guys want to think about that. Something that came up in the comments a lot on our previous video was Chucky, which none of us put on. He showed up on the original list. Oh, Andrew, you put Chucky on.
Yeah, I'm a full Chucky supporter.
Are you a Chuck nut?
I would say I'm a Chuck nut, if that's the term.
If you put on a wig, you would actually be wearing. You don't have a secondary costume lined up.
Unfortunately, no.
Alas. I'm wondering about Babadook also. That was one that came up in the comments on the previous video that didn't make our original video. I find the Babadook very scary. Do you guys have any, like, this didn't come up for you guys at all?
The Babadook, there's only room for one fedora guy here, and the Babadook is just one too many. No, I honestly, I watched the Babadook and I love the memes from the movie, but in terms of scare factor, it didn't really do much for me personally. I didn't really find Babadook that fresh to me. It felt like very cookie cutter horror.
Yeah. Okay. What were you gonna say, Tim?
I was gonna say, I mean, this was I got to like 13 on my list when I was trying to parse them down, and then it got really, really hard to eliminate some. This was definitely one of those last 3 or 4. I mean, visually the Babadook, even though we don't get much of the Babadook visually in the movie, is very striking. It's very unnerving how enthusiastic he is.
Yeah.
Dropping down from your bedroom ceiling.
Hey guys.
I think thematically though, the Babadook is very terrifying because it's just your grief.
Yeah.
So how do you get away from that?
Yeah, it like traps you in your own life. That's where I like was kind of feeling. I mean, this is like a sad movie, like a heavy movie. It's like maybe we don't need to spend too much time on the Babadook, but yeah, like I find that to be like very scary because it's not just a monster that could like beat you into oblivion. That's scary, but it's like there's something like psychological and emotional about it, about how it like can recognize you and what your deal is, that I find very unsettling. Okay, cool. So normally what we do is we begin by deciding what's going to be in the top 3, and then we get to the order of them at the end. Charlie K, Jigsaw from Saw could potentially be on the list. Maybe not physically as scary, but mentally for sure with all the mind games and traps. I 100% agree. And the people in the comments on our previous video were talking about Jigsaw a lot. And I'm hoping that we can talk about this a bit because he himself is just a guy. Like, and he's kind of frail. Like maybe you could like 1-to-1, maybe not that scary. But the mind games are, I mean, what they are. Shout out to Mac Dunbar. Thank you for your support. So let's just start. I guess the best way to approach this is to go, who did we choose as our number 1s? So Andrew, I'm going to go with you first. why did you choose Freddy Kreuger to be your number one pick?
Well, let's see. Freddy hits all the beacons of the fear system. First of all, he can kill you extremely quickly. He just chooses not to most of the time. Evasion, you have to go to sleep. He's in your nightmares. You have to go to sleep at some point. So evasion is virtually impossible. Abilities, pretty much unlimited. Even when he is pulled out of the dream world, he still seems to be immortal. And plus, and the resources, sure, you can stay up. You can avoid him as long as you can. But he can literally be willed back into existence if enough people hear about him. So you tell your therapist, and your therapist tells therapists at a therapist conference, then he's terrorizing therapists all over the world. So Freddy can't be stopped.
Epidemic.
It's an epidemic. He can't be stopped. He is an unrelentless monster. His backstory is terrifying. So yeah, that's why Freddy for me is a number one pick.
Okay, I like that. Rebecca says, Freddy is one franchise I cannot watch because I could never sleep again. Yeah, that's very fair because he doesn't just infect your life, he also infects your mind. Okay, so I think that's a great contender for number one. We did put that at number one on our last list. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this off with an A. Tim, you went with the Xenomorph as your number one pick, which I find fascinating.
Yes.
So can you explain to the class what, I know you don't have an elaborate fear system, but if you could just give us a little rundown here. Where your mind's at.
And F for fear.
Fast.
How fast are you dead?
Okay, these things are fast as hell. E, evasion. No deal. A, abilities. Man, this thing can spit acid at you.
True.
Resources. No, you're done. That's it. It's the most fearsome thing. No, okay. For serious though. Ultimate killing machine. These things were bred for killing. They're also so they're beyond disgusting too. Like it's not just that they're scary. It's like I don't even want to touch it. It's just like it's wet and moist all the time, and it's crunchy. Always like got like and it's like drooling all over the place when it's like. It's just and the way it makes eggs and babies, it's just the most I've ever thought gross. Possible, and most painful. Ew and painful, I think, are my my big the
1-2 punch here.
Yeah.
For the Xenomorphs. Shout out to H.R. Geiger for that amazing character design.
Hell yeah.
I'm liking Pinhead, and I'm also liking. Somebody mentioned the creatures from the Mist. Do we have feelings on this? Yeah.
I think we kind of, in general, because I also saw something about zombies, I think we generally tried to stay away from like generalized creatures because, it's hard to distinguish them for another. Like, what's the difference between like a mist monster and like a Cloverfield? It's like, we try to go very specific with our picks there. That's why I'm like straying away specifically from the Mist. But I did like Art the Clown. Somebody brought up Art the Clown from Terrifier.
Oh, yeah.
A new recent force.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering about the Xenomorphs. Sorry. I was wondering about the Xenomorphs because we do normally stay away from monsters when we talk about villains because a monster does what a monster does more for like self-preservation rather than like the intent to cause destruction. I think that can arguably be said for the Xenomorphs as well, although they do like I think the character design is what sets them over the edge and takes them from monster to villain.
Mm-hmm. And there is like the alien queen.
Worthy.
Yeah. So we could, if we want to go specific, alien queen I think could be one, but yeah, like they're very specific. Like we want to make more of us. That's I think that's what puts them on the top. Yeah,
I agree. And I'm seeing like some notes about Norman Bates coming up. To me, Norman Bates is just one guy who is like ill. So I would say he's one of my favorite horror movie antagonists for sure. Yeah. If you knew he was coming, if we can refer back to The System, he's not that fast.
No.
If you know he's coming and you have resources available to you. Yeah, I don't think Norman Bates is as scary as these guys because he doesn't really have any powers other than the element of surprise. But I mean, Psycho is one of my favorite movies ever. I can't say anything bad about this. Cool. I also saw someone in the chat mention The Grudge and The Ring. I'm 100% on board with The Ring. What do you think about Ring versus Grudge?
They're so
similar. They're both malevolent spirits. Yeah. That are born of like an evil act.
Mm-hmm. I think just The Ring is just the image of the crawling out of the TV, the 7 days. There's so many specific things that you think about. Like I think of of the 2000s, that was the Japanese horror movie we stole that did the best because it was just there's so much in it that resonated with us, and it felt like once you watch this video, it's a wrap. And the last thing I want to say about that is now. Imagine you got a TikTok of The Ring that you just watched casually. Millions would be dead in a week, and there's nothing you could do. Are you all going to find the well? I don't think so.
You bring that to the therapy convention. It is over. That actually would be a great concept for a remake. They should bring that back.
Yeah.
The Grudge was 100%.
Oh yeah, the plane. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the plane and then they were all watching The Ring.
Worst in-flight movie ever.
Yeah.
Everyone's vacation is ruined. Okay, cool. So I will just pull us to Nosferatu for a minute. That's the one I put at number 1. I kind of went with what I thought was the most universal, or the monster that speaks to the most universal themes or fears. And this is I think there's a reason the character just won't die, so to speak, that's been around for 200 years. This creature that can defy the human laws of space and time, can control people, and is not just a threat to the victims that he chooses, but to all of humanity, by infecting their minds and bodies and communities. Nosferatu is kind of a plague and kind of this embodiment of evil. So that's why I went with it at number 1. The images of Max Schreck's hands illuminated against the wall is super creepy to me. I understand that it's about 100 years old, so maybe it doesn't have that gut-wrenching reaction all the time. But that's why I went classic for number 1. But I'm here for debate. So do you guys think it's scary enough compared to these more modern villains?
Yeah, I think I didn't really think of him initially because it's been so oversaturated. I've seen so many parodies. I've seen so many looser takes on it. But yeah, no, the context you're saying makes a lot of sense of how enduring Dracula has been in ways that others haven't. So I'm open to put him in the top echelon. Take a bite out of that.
Get it? Get it?
Because a vampire.
Oh. Yeah, Tim, do you have any feelings on Nosferatu for this?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of generalize it by going Dracula slash, if they're basically the same story. But
yeah.
This is the one from the classic era of horror that I think still rings as creepy and terrifying. Both characters have such a commanding presence, terrifying presence on screen, that you can't look at those and not shiver, those images.
Yeah.
The image of Nosferatu, what's that meme, that gif where he's watching from the window across the street?
Yeah, he's standing there with his claws.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's we're getting a bunch of, I think there's 3 Dracula movies coming out this year. I think there's a reason why he keeps coming back. It still speaks to fears of plague, but upon humanity. I don't know. I think there's something very pointed and fear, like existential but universal about this. That's why I put it number 1. I don't think he's as gross as a xenomorph, and I don't think, maybe Freddy Kreuger is probably more powerful. But I think as like a movie villain, maybe outside of the films, like that's kind of the approach I took.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's put these as our top 3 for now. Of course, like there's lots of space for debate. We do not have to keep these for, but in the meantime, let's get into the rank. So I guess if we can look at these as our top 3, what comes right after? Like what would be number 4? If these are the 3 scariest of all time, where does your mind go?
Pennywise, I think. I think Pennywise. I think he has the perfect combination of the factors. If I don't think they ever see the full potential, because if Pennywise can literally be anything in your life and get inside your head, I would think he'd be unstoppable if he really applied himself. I think he doesn't apply himself enough, and that's why he's lost.
A degenerate.
Pennywise's life coach.
Quit hanging out in the sewer and get a job.
Yeah. But yeah, his imagery, his look. I think people don't even need to see the movie and they think he's terrifying. So I think that design is really good.
Yeah. And that's another one where he gets in your mind and like can know you. He's not just like stomping around like breaking things. It's like he's trying to like get to you and like sees your truth and uses it against you. Yeah. I'm super on board with Pennywise at 4. Charlie K says Leatherface. What makes Leatherface scary?
He's loud. He's
the
crazy.
chainsaw.
I was gonna say because he's scary, like because he's big and he's full of skin and like he's dressed like a butcher.
Big and full of skin.
Yeah, like has like a you know what his house. It's gross. Yeah, but do we include Leatherface's family? Because if without his minions, does he leave the farm homestead?
I think a lot of it is him with the family. He's just kind of like their mascot, the representative of the Leatherface clan. So I agree with Symbiote. I'm not attached to putting him too high, but I think he's just by himself. If Leatherface showed up behind you, that's that's game. The game's over. He's pretty nimble, so.
Yeah, okay, cool. David Strauss mentioned in the chat also, should Frankenstein be considered? So I just wanted to address that outright. I think he's a monster more than a villain, and I think he's also more of a victim. The harm he causes is pretty much just by accident.
Yeah, I have to agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm. The Doctor is more terrifying conceptually. Dr. Frankenstein is more terrifying than the monster conceptually for me.
Yeah.
The monster just kind of is like all of us. He just wants to chill out in his ice sculpture, be left alone, read some books. Like, that's all he wants.
Play with some flowers, sit by the river.
Throw some girls in the lake.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I kind of was wanting to talk about Michael Myers. I think that's a good contender for number 5. I put him a little lower than that, but people in the comments on our previous video were all about putting Michael Myers, saying that he should have been at number 1. Like, this is the guy, he's the embodiment of evil. Tim, I know you are a big Halloween fan. So what are your feelings on Michael Myers? In this context?
It's the mask. For me, it's the mask. It's just
William
it's
Shatner.
One of the most terrifying images I've. Yeah, it's whenever I watch a Star Trek episode, I can't go to sleep that night. No, but it's just like it's vacuous in its banality. I mean, it is just a blank, empty slate, and it reflects the emptiness in his heart. His evil. Look at this poster. That poster is terrifying. It's not terrifying as Myers, okay? Like,
I'm scared.
yes.
Yeah, I was reading someone was describing him as like the definition of a good monster because he appears to be both less than human, but has enough intelligence and like desire to be driven to accomplish his goals and to scheme. And he has those like supernatural elements that kind of like you're not sure. You can't really like pin him down. You can't really like you don't really know what he is besides being the embodiment of evil. So even though he's kind of like has a his mind is kind of fixed. I don't really think he poses such a threat to everybody. I do think that makes for a scary villain because he's unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what sucked out a little bit of the mystique for me for Michael Myers is when like a whole town was just like, let's beat him up together, you know?
Is that the fourth one?
Yeah, what is that? Ends or kills or
That's kills, yeah.
Kills. Yeah, it's like once like a bunch of normal people gang up, it's like I don't know how scary this is. You try that with an alien or Pennywise, it's not going to work out for you.
Right. Find out. Yeah.
You will find out. So I think that's why I didn't put him as high as the other ones, because I think it's over the years he's lost some of between Jason X when he was in space and stuff like that. He's become more humorous to me than scary in a lot of ways. Despite being, you know, Friday the 13th and I mean, sorry, so despite being like this horror icon that just won't die.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's. I'm gonna move him up, but maybe we don't put him at 5. I'll put somebody else in to dial up with Michael Myers. Is say Samara more scary than Michael Myers? Because to me, Michael Myers is like it's the image, it's that blankness, but Samara has like very specific moments that. Like even just being when I'm home alone, if that enters my mind, it like gives me the creeps.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that you really can't do anything. So like to defeat Samara, you have to go through a very specific series of circumstances. And even in the first one, they're like, we didn't really beat her technically. We just kind of delayed it for another week. Like she's never stopping. It's never over once you're in it until you're dead. So I think that, you know, you got similarly to Michael Myers, but Michael Myers, you could like go on a plane or the Arctic, and unless he can teleport, you're pretty good for a little bit. But
he's not getting past the TSA with that mask.
Yeah, exactly. Just hang out in an airport, you'll be fine.
Do I have to check my machete? Yeah.
Michael Myers is afraid of flying.
Yeah. But not Samara. She can be on planes. So there you go. That's what puts her over the top for me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna put Samara above Michael Myers, and then I'm wondering. I'm gonna throw. What do we do with Jason? I read a comment on the previous video that said Jason is not scary. He's badass, and the more I think about that, the more that reflects how I feel. Is Jason scary? In a movie, not like if you've ran into him.
Yeah.
Well, Christ, I ran into him.
He's scary.
Yeah, no, I think you know, he represents I think a lot of people kind of took cues from Jason, in terms of like how they approach. It's be big, carry one weapon, and kill everybody you can. I think that idea has endured. I think I do think it's weird to have a Friday the 13th list without him. So I think he's just the baseline for scary. I think he's like the minimum scary you have to be a horror villain. So I think he deserves, you know, a mention. But I do agree other people have definitely outstripped him in scary because they're more existential instead of just like robotic.
Yeah. And he has his mom fight his battles for him.
That's true.
Yeah.
Intimidating for sure, but not that scary. Yeah, I agree. I kind of like the idea of putting him at number 10. Yeah. I think that like sets a baseline of like, this is what we're doing. We have poll results. Is Jason scary? 71% have said yes. Fair. let's put him at 10.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, cool.
I was fully prepared to make a joke of like how we didn't put him on the list on Friday the 13th. We had him in the thumbnail. I was ready to go. Andrew, you ruined it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, cool. So what do we feel? I'm just going to keep like kind of pitting these against each other, and we can see how they rank. Like now that we have Jason as our baseline, I think we can say that Jigsaw is scarier than Jason because he's so calculated and the movies are horrifying.
Yeah, with Jigsaw, he throws a massive hole in my fear system, because if Jigsaw has captured you, it's already done. You're finished. Your only hope is like losing a limb.
Yeah, being really brave.
Yeah, but if you lose, it's all about your outlook afterwards, you know? Like he fixes you, right? You know, he makes you appreciate what you have.
No.
Yeah,
no,
when we're talking about intention in the
to
monsters context, maybe we should talk about yeah. Now I'm all better. Yeah, thanks, Jigsaw.
There are no more therapists, and Jigsaw has done this to me. Like, what am I going to do?
Wait, is it the same universe? Okay.
What a
Same
world.
universe.
It's this universe, yeah. Okay. So how are we feeling about our order of entries here? I would like to nominate It Follows to be in the rank.
Absolutely.
As a more modern, good entry. Shout out to Martin Peraza. Welcome to WatchMojo membership. Nice to have you. I'm wondering if the entity goes here. I think the entity is scarier than Leatherface because it is so powerful. Whereas Leatherface is big and scary and he has a chainsaw, but he doesn't have any supernatural powers. He is just a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I haven't seen all of the bad sequels, so I want to do a fact check there. Okay.
Still has a chainsaw at the whole thing.
You never know what happens but it's not like a magic chainsaw. So. I'm wondering, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the entity, it's another very scary thing with the ring, because it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then it's left vague whether you can even get rid of it permanently. Obviously there's the obvious metaphor of that, but I think it's just like the idea that you can never know for sure if the guy coming at you from across the convenience store is the entity or just a guy is existentially terrifying for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like at least Samara, she has a look. You know she's coming for you. But the entity, you don't know who it is.
She even tells you when she's coming.
Yeah, exactly. She's polite.
Like, hey, I'm gonna drop in 7 days.
You're an RSVP, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Facebook event invite from Samara.
Also, if you get rid of the entity, if you pass it on, you never know when it's going to come back for you. Like,
right,
you'll always have that in the back of your head for the rest of your life.
Yes.
When is it coming back for me?
Isabel in the chat, I hear you. I love It Follows too. I don't think the entity needs to be that high. I guess I'm just wondering what is between these options. What is scarier? Like, maybe we can do a poll. Which is the scariest villain? The entity, Leatherface, or Jigsaw? Let's do a poll.
Yeah.
Hold up.
I do want to shout out to Snail Gale, Walrus from Tusk. Like, he's the victim.
No.
He's not the villain.
Herbert Lee, thank you for your support. Welcome to WatchMojo memberships. Okay, cool. So we'll wait for those poll results to come in for a minute. Between the entity, Leatherface, and Jigsaw, who is the scariest villain? I think we just have to do this democratically.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I am feeling good about keeping Samara at 5. I think Michael Myers can be at 6. And I will just mention that we do have the secret menu option of honorable mentions. So if there's anything that enters the conversation a little bit later, we can always go for it and include them at the end. This is a bit of a left field, but I did want to talk about Hannibal Lecter, because we had like kind of an interesting conversation about him the other day. Is he a villain because he is scary and does bad things, even though he's not the villain in the films he's in? What do you think, Tim? Because you put him pretty high on your list. So I'm calling you out.
He's yeah, you're right in that the overarching narrative of these movies, I guess except for Hannibal itself. No, actually, wait. No, yeah, because there's always like another killer hanging around, and then he's either hanging around somewhere else. Yeah, he's like a secondary antagonist, but he's like the most memorable antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And you like somewhat root for him, so I do understand in that sense. I put him on here because of just Anthony Hopkins' performance is just the most terrifying thing I can think of.
Chilling.
And he's also probably the smartest villain on this list, bar none. Like he will outthink you. If he wants you dead, he'll have you dead. It's not even.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's just a guy, but and he will eat you. Like that's just afterwards. Like at least leave my corpse alone. Like
have some respect.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's definitely smart, and I think he deserves one of the greatest movie villains of all time, no question. But in terms of fear factor for me, I'm not pissing off Hannibal Lecter. I'm not really going to do anything that will put me on his radar. In the way like a lot of these, like Michael Myers and Jason, they'll kill you for literally no reason. You were just on the way. Hannibal Lecter is very calculated. You have to get to know him. You have to interest him or intrigue him in some way. There's a layered process. Jigsaw, it's like you dropped a candy bar once, and he's like, you know what? I think you need to appreciate being chocolate, and he puts you in a chocolate bag. You know, that's Jigsaw.
I want to see the chocolate trap.
Yeah. Volunteers tribute for the chocolate trap.
Going through the tube, like, if you don't get out, you're gonna get sucked up, Augustus.
Sorry to tell you guys, this is the leaked plot of Wonka.
I was just gonna make that joke. I was just gonna make that joke.
It's gonna be Jigsaw. Oh
no. Okay, so the poll results are in. We have Leatherface at 46%, The Entity at 29%, and Jigsaw at 24%.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I think, yeah, interesting. That's great. I like a little support for Leatherface. I'm a big fan. So let's go with that. Okay. I think we can put Chucky and Art the Clown as honorable mentions.
Yes.
I feel good about that. I don't think they are scarier than the guys that we have in here. And then at the end, we'll do a roundup and we'll see where we're at. We'll take the temperature at the end. But please, just a reminder to everyone in the chat, if there is something that you'd like us to address that you do not see on the spreadsheet here, please let us know. So now it comes down to the top 3. We have Freddy, who is number 1 on the original list. Dracula Nosferatu, who has like 4,000 movies under his belt and like 100,000 years of existence. And the Xenomorphs, who none of these people I don't think would win against in a fight.
Yeah. Dracula does not have the hands for a xenomorph. Yeah, I think for me personally, I think Dracula sits to me near as a solid 3. Because there's so many iterations. Sometimes Dracula, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes legitimately he doesn't have those weaknesses of sunlight or garlic. You're just dead. But other times it's just kind of like, let me open a window and I'm good. You know,
a towel just to shoot him out.
Yeah, spray, bad. Is he scarier than Megan? Maybe. No, Megan's fine. But yeah, no, I think because Dracula has a variety of weaknesses you can exploit, I think that's why he's lower on my tier. Even though he can be scary, there are a lot of times where you can just be like, oh, is this a cross over here? You know, is this a cross of knives? If I bend them the right way, you know, it's
multi-tool. Yeah, I hear that logic. That makes a lot of sense to me. Cool. I'm happy to put my boy into a 3. I'm just kidding. So, okay, I love that we've come down to Xenomorph and Freddy Kreuger.
As it was always meant to be.
They're so different, and that's a spin-off that I think we all could use in our lives. How do we measure this? We have a poll that says Freddy 54% is scarier than a Xenomorph.
Oh, wow.
I personally think Dracula's too darn sexy to be on the list. Depends on the iteration. There's a lot of different Draculas.
If it's Nick Cage, I agree.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
I'm so excited for that.
Me too.
Yeah, okay, so it kind of goes back, like, to me, this goes back to our original idea that the Xenomorphs are working more for self-preservation than they are deliberately for the destruction of humanity with intention. Like, it's less malice-driven, whereas Freddy is like an angry spirit who chooses violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I lean towards that because I think, at the end of the day, the aliens just want to make more aliens. And this is the way they have to do it. They're terrifying while they do it and horrifying in a number of ways they can kill you. There's no debate. But I think just we could specifically go Alien Queen if we want to be very specific of a specific alien. Alien Queen is definitely own intentions, own mind, very structured plan. But yeah, Freddy Kreuger, he delights in it. He comes up with new creative ways that torture your mindset specifically, like Dream Warriors. Like when he was the scariest scene, and I'll close it with this. One of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in this franchise is when he takes someone who's scared of bugs, puts them on a giant bug trap, and then makes them turn into a cockroach and then squishes them. Why? Why? I can't sleep after seeing that. That is why Fred. That's why he's my number one boy. Don't hurt me.
You know,
Rebecca points out you can hide from it.
More for this.
With like the tentacles and like...
Yeah, maybe I would have better success if I was like just going like the whole video. But, no, I didn't.
If you want Xenomorphs at one,
we could dress up.
Do you have a second mouth, Tim, that you could
I do have a tail.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we have some poll results. We do have Freddy at 54%. The Xenomorph is at 26%. Dracula's at 21%.
Oh wow.
I feel like that's a fair rank. I am looking at this and wondering if Pennywise is scarier than Nosferatu. Now. If we agree that fear is like whatever, like it's hard to pin down, it's kind of subjective, but like that's exactly what Pennywise does. So like Nosferatu is my personal favorite, but Pennywise knows that fear is subjective, and that's his whole game.
Yeah, and I think Pennywise immediately. You look at Pennywise, Dracula. You can look at and like, interesting, maybe. But Pennywise immediately, no. As soon as you see that thing, you're like, why did a kid get even this close to it? Because that thing is terrifying.
Don't talk to people in the sewer.
I never learned that lesson. I'm sorry.
That explains a lot.
Okay, so yeah, we'll do a quick poll, Dracula versus Pennywise, and see if we want to bump him down.
I also did, because earlier I think someone mentioned it. Is Pinhead a good honorable mention?
Yeah, what do you guys think?
Oh yeah,
Okay, let's do that.
yeah, it's great. That's a great one.
I'm also okay. So we have 88% says Pennywise scarier than Nosferatu. That's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
The people have spoken. That is fair. All right. See if I can just navigate this.
I do like how we had Angela Baker from Sleepaway Camp on this list.
I know.
On the original list, and we didn't have and we didn't have like Nosferatu or The Ring, but that's Sleepaway Camp person.
Hey man,
Yeah,
Pamela Springsteen's so scary, man, so scary.
All right. So okay. So let's take the temperature now. I think this is a good list. Is there anything that jumps out at us? Oh, okay. Actually, Martin in the chat says Freddy's always getting beat down by little girls. A xenomorph ain't getting its booty handed to it by someone's baby sister, or as I said, preteen scream queens. Wow. That comment almost has a rhyme scheme to it, and I appreciate that.
That, and it is a fair point, but I will also remind that even if you beat an alien, you launch it out into space, you've gotten that one. You've gotten that one, and you're good. You've won today. Freddy Kreuger, again, if you kill him, he's coming back. He is coming back like 10 years, 20 years later. You cannot kill him. He's done. There's no way you can get rid of Freddy. It's permanent.
Yeah, and when I think scariest, it's like a xenomorph is scary in the way that a great white shark is scary. Or like any kind of beast that can destroy you is scary. Should Ghostface be an HM? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
He was, for me, it was kind of subjective because depending on who's behind the mask, Ghostface himself isn't that intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
They're just guys usually with good knife skills, or women. Sometimes they're women as well. So yeah, it didn't really. It's a guy with a knife. I see that in New York City all the time. It's not really that scary to me.
You'll be seeing it in New York City in Scream 6.
Yeah, right.
All right. And I did want to talk about Bagul quickly, just because you put it on your list and we haven't addressed it.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on Bagul?
This movie's not compared to the rest of these, it's not like an amazing movie, but it is like an incredibly terrifying film. It has some of the best jump scares, which is hard to say. And Bagul, just conceptually, he looks so unclean and unshaven. He'll turn in photographs without even realizing it. It's just it has such an aura. This movie has such an aura of malice and evil. It's sinister, that it makes me feel genuinely terrified of this demon that is not just a evil person, but an evil demon that I can't quantify that. It's just it really unnerves me.
Yeah. Scary. Yeah.
It's spookers.
Yeah, the lawnmower scene in that movie is insane. That's what always comes to my mind when I think of this. Insane. Okay, let's take a quick poll just before we sign off. Are we happy with this rank? Let's I think this is solid. And I think that I think it's a good idea to stay away from villains that are too sympathetic. Like, for example, like we talked about Frankenstein already, but Carrie also comes to mind as a villain who is like is so much of a victim that I don't really see her as like evil in that context. Where I think of like a movie villain as someone who like I'm not afraid of Carrie because I've never wronged her. I don't know. Do you guys have feelings on this?
Yeah, I went to my prom. I'm not going to prom again. So
Oh yeah.
not worried about prom scares.
Yeah, Carrie is very similar to Hannibal Lecter to me.
Some of our friends in the chat have put, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say Carrie's very similar to Hannibal Lecter. I'm not doing anything personally that's gonna piss Carrie off. So I think I'm good.
Yep. Find out.
The Langoliers are more of a threat to me.
Cool. So.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I was thinking of the plants from The Happening as an underrated villain.
Oh, there you go. Now we're
the plants. The bees are just a tool.
Yeah, we should start at the beginning.
No, not the bees.
Some instruments.
Not the bees.
Come on, not the bees. All right, we have 38% of people in the chat say pretty good, and 26 say I can live with it. So
right on. I can live with that.
21% said nailed it. All right.
Oh, nice.
One last call out before we finalize this rank. Is there something on this rank that you think is wrong? The Exorcist is missing. Who is the villain in The Exorcist?
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu? But like, why is he more scary than any other curse?
Yeah, for someone who always confuses Pazuzu and Payman, they're pretty much the same.
Well, hang on. No, Payman does the clicking sound.
Well, Pazuzu is more of a wheeze.
Yes. And I do want to address Chucky.
Yeah.
Conceptually, Chucky as a little scary doll is the reason I am scared of creepy little dolls. So I do hear this call for a rank, of Chucky, and I do understand it. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we doing a disservice to Chucky at all here?
Justice for Chuck.
Justice for Chuck. I don't know, because I think like he has kind of like a comedic presence. Like he is scary, but he has all these like zingers, and the voice acting is just insane. Like it's so good, but kind of funny. So to me, scary.
So is Freddy Kreuger.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a poll. Do we want Chucky or Jason as our number 10 spot?
Oh yeah.
And let's see. I think those could be a swap. So let's see what the people think. I do think it's also worth addressing Damien from The Omen. The villain is Satan. I don't know. That feels a little cheap. I love The Omen, but it's like saying like Death from Final Fantasy is the scariest horror movie villain. It's like it's
see,
you know what I mean?
Final Destination, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Damien, it's like I hate to say it, but like if you kick the kid one good time, you're pretty good. They tried to do it. He just ran out of time. Right. That's why Damien, in terms of creepy kids, Megan is scarier because Megan can like mess with your car and like electrocute you. Spoilers.
Yeah, Damien literally has a nanny.
A strong breeze will get rid of Damien for you.
They're not going to make. 32% of people want to keep Jason number 10. 28% says Chucky. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Is there any do you guys have any closing remarks? I think I'm very content with Jay. I think it would be more of a disservice to leave Jason out of the rank.
Yeah. I was just interested to see how people felt about that, because I agree. Chucky's scary, bar none. I think it's universal to say he's scary, but to say he's scarier than these other people is rough. You know, you can throw him in a fire. A 5-year-old can throw him in a fireplace by saying, "This is the end, friend," and it's pretty much over. So, you know.
Andrew has a holiday memorized.
The parts I can't say on this chat.
All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys. And thank you to everyone who joined in the chat. A reminder that our following up, we're going to keep doing episodes like this. If you would like to participate in the chat, don't forget to become a channel member, and a special shout out and thank you to everyone who participated today. Lovely to see all of you, and this was super fun. So happy Friday the 13th. I hope this is a very lucky day for you, and we'll see you next time. And one last reminder before we sign off, this rank will be published as a video in the coming weeks. So be sure to keep an eye out, and you can hear all of our voices again. So thanks so much, guys.
Farewell.
Calling pop culture superfans everywhere. Do you love to argue with WatchMojo's top 10 ranks? Introducing WatchMojo's first and very own party game. Bring your superpowers to the table and fight for your pick to be at the top of the list. It's all the fun of the comment section, but in real life.